We had been married for 3 years when tragedy struck. My father-in-law, a kind and gentle man, passed away after battling a prolonged illness. Surrounded by his loved ones, he left peacefully. I think it would be good for Mom to move in with us, I suggested after the funeral. That makes sense. Her back and legs have been bothering her, and since I work remotely, I can be there to help her. My spouse agreed. With mutual understanding, we decided to invite my mother-in-law to live with us. My spouse shared our plan with the family before the funeral arrangements were completed. Why would you suggest that? Haven't you already asked her for the $2 million she saved? A relative blurted out. That's not true. We're doing this to ensure she's well cared for, my spouse clarified. Exactly. She won't have to worry as much if she's with us, I added, hoping to quell their suspicions. Some of my sisters-in-law, eager and abrupt, expressed their willingness to care for her instead. It's not about money. It's about her comfort and choice, I replied firmly. She has the final say, and I respect that. Later, my mother-in-law quietly addressed the matter. Thank you for the offer, but your child is still young. I think it's best if I stay with my daughter for now. Surprised by the accusations and assumptions about money, I admitted, I've never even heard of these savings before. The atmosphere shifted as the relatives cast us in a bad light, insinuating we had ulterior motives. On the drive home, my spouse pondered aloud. Do you think Mom really wanted to live with us but felt pressured not to? I get that impression too, I agreed. We should visit her regularly to check on her, I suggested. Determined to ensure her well-being, I began stopping by her house whenever I could, doing small chores and bringing gifts. However, within a few months, it became clear something was off. One afternoon, while visiting during a work break, I encountered my sister-in-law. She inspected the cake I had brought before inviting me in. Hello, Amber. It's good to see you. My mother-in-law greeted me warmly. I brought you your favorite cake. Enjoy it later, I said with a smile. Thank you, dear, she replied. However, I couldn't help but notice she was wearing the same clothes as the previous day. Would it help if I took some laundry home to wash? It seems like you've been struggling with the housework, I offered gently. Her frail appearance worried me. I'm fine, Emma. Don't trouble yourself, she insisted, brushing off my concern. But Sarah, my sister-in-law, interjected rudely. Why do you keep coming by all the time? Sarah, we agreed to care for Mom together, remember? I reminded her. So what? That was then, she snapped dismissively. Her words cut deep. My heart ached as I realized the extent of my mother-in-law's predicament. Mom refused to live with us because she trusted you would take care of her. What's really happening here? I demanded. Sarah smirked. Oh, didn't you know? Her savings went toward a new car. Now she's broke. And you, who wanted her money, don't want her anymore. Huh? Anger boiled inside me. How dare you? She's your mother, and she deserves respect. Money should never dictate how we treat her, I snapped back. Unwilling to let things worsen, I called Liam, explained the situation, and we decided on the spot to bring my mother-in-law to our home. I packed her things, helped her into the car, and brought her home that day. My mother-in-law seemed astonished by how quickly we acted, but once settled in, she expressed her gratitude. I'm sorry to burden you, especially with a young child in the house, she said hesitantly. Don't apologize. You're family, and we're happy to have you, I assured her. Living together brought joy to all of us. She had always treated me with kindness, like the child she never had, and I cherished the time we spent together. Yet, I had to adjust my plans. My longtime dream of opening a cafe had to be postponed. Balancing work-from-home tasks, childcare, and household responsibilities was demanding, but I refused to give up. 6 months into our new arrangement, my mother-in-law called me over with an unusual seriousness. Eva, come here for a moment, she said. Yes, Mom? I asked, curious. She handed me a thick envelope. This is for your living expenses. Take it without a word, she said firmly. I opened the envelope, stunned to find bundles of cash. What is this? I've always been frugal, saving over the years, she explained. When I counted it, the total was $7,000. Tears filled my eyes as she smiled warmly. This unexpected gesture reaffirmed the bond we shared and reminded me that family is built on love and trust, not money. I can't accept this much, I said, attempting to return the envelope. But my mother-in-law gently stopped me. Don't refuse it. I had to test your intentions. My plan was to observe how you handled finances for a year, but I don't need to worry anymore. By providing additional funds for living expenses, I can help you maintain good financial habits. I don't want to place any more burdens on you. How does $2,000 a month sound? She proposed. I was utterly taken aback. $2,000? That's far more than necessary. Why would you offer so much? I asked, bewildered. She revealed that she had won a substantial lottery prize and later delved into studying investments. Those efforts had borne fruit. With $80,000 in savings and stock investments through her bank, she was financially secure. Her disclosure left me speechless. She went on to explain that my sister-in-law had schemed to gauge her financial standing by creating a fake $20,000 inheritance test. However, she and her husband squandered their share almost immediately. Even my father-in-law, before his passing, had been aware of their recklessness and had considered limiting their inheritance if they mishandled the money. You're different, my mother-in-law said. You didn't prioritize money, and your refusal to take it outright filled me with pride. That's why I want to support you, both for your future and to help you realize your dream. It seemed she had heard about my cafe ambitions from my husband. While her generosity moved me, I hesitated to accept such a significant gesture. After discussing it with my husband, we decided to save the money for emergencies. My mother-in-law fully supported our decision. A few days later, my sister-in-law and her husband unexpectedly showed up, demanding that my mother-in-law return to live with them. Luckily, my husband was home, and he quickly sent them on their way without incident. However, I couldn't ignore the uneasy feeling their visit left behind. To avoid future disruptions, my mother-in-law suggested scheduling specific visitation days. When they returned on one of those days, my sister-in-law immediately barked, "Pack your things, you're coming home with us." But my mother-in-law remained calm. "Please sit down. I have something to discuss," she said. "Who do you think you are, making demands like that?" my sister-in-law snapped. "I'm John, her attorney," came a voice from the next room. It turned out my mother-in-law had prepared for this confrontation by hiring a lawyer. My husband and I listened quietly from the adjoining room, imagining the stunned expressions on my sister-in-law and her husband's faces as the lawyer outlined her terms. "You won't be receiving any more assets," he explained. "Additionally, you must repay the $20,000 you squandered and vacate the family property you're currently occupying." My sister-in-law erupted. "Mom, how can you do this to your own daughter? I'm your child. You can't abandon me in my time of need." Her husband chimed in, pleading, but my mother-in-law stood firm. "Do you remember calling me a broke old woman? Saying you didn't need me anymore because I had no money? I gave you living expenses, yet you spent them frivolously on luxuries like a new car, and now you're drowning in debt. Moving in with me was just an excuse to avoid paying rent. This is your responsibility, not mine. As for the inheritance, you've proven you can't manage it, so you'll need to relinquish your claim. This is final," she declared. With no counterarguments, my sister-in-law and her husband left, looking defeated. In time, they moved out of the family home, disappearing from our lives. When I asked my mother-in-law if she regretted her decision, she said resolutely, "As a parent, sometimes the hardest but most necessary thing is to let your children face the consequences of their actions." Over the following months, the money my mother-in-law contributed allowed us to save significantly. "You should use it for yourselves," she encouraged. After careful thought, my husband and I decided to allocate the funds toward two dreams we'd put off, a long-awaited family trip and opening my cafe. With her unwavering support, we began working toward the cafe. It wasn't easy, balancing daily life, work, and renovations, but we persevered. My husband eventually quit his job to help source materials and speed up preparations. We chose to transform the family home into the cafe, preserving its sentimental value while giving it new life. Despite the challenges, the cafe quickly became a beloved community space, offering a cozy atmosphere for relaxation and connection. One day, my sister-in-law and her husband visited the cafe. They seemed subdued and more humble than before. Looks like they're finally learning, my husband said with a sigh. Watching the cafe thrive brought tears of joy to my mother-in-law's eyes. She even became more active in her rehabilitation, determined to regain her strength. Once she felt confident enough, she donned an apron and joined us behind the counter, her energy infectious. It felt as though my late father-in-law was smiling down on us from his photo on the wall, proud of the legacy we'd created together. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more stories. See you next time.